this could be the biggest buying opportunity of your life. And a new chart is now showing exactly what's going on here. A lot of people are wondering what's going on right now. This chart makes it very clear. It becomes obvious why we're crashing and why we could potentially recover very, very strongly. We've really seen the market switch into panic mode over the last few days. We're here in the feed. The fear and greed index has dropped below 10. That means we have absolute panic here. And this whole thing is really going viral right now, even though it's actually nothing special. But people keep forgetting these facts and this chart over and over. Additionally, we have Amazon, with its former CEO Jeff Bezos, who is now potentially being orange-pilled by Michael Saylor. A lot of people are currently speculating whether Amazon is getting into Bitcoin, because now we have Michael Saylor responding to a tweet from Jeff Bezos. And this is super interesting because he's talking about Bitcoin and the benefits of Bitcoin. The cool thing about YouTube is that you get awesome feedback here, and the comments are really going wild right now. Here, Bastral Riddle Trader writes, "I'm curious when you'll finally realize that the top is in and we're heading into a bear market. Add to that the collapsing bear market, and everything that Trump now has to clean up will also leave hard marks. But it must be what he is doing now, Bitcoin target around 35,000 US dollars. And those have always been very, very good buying opportunities historically. Whenever we've seen a surrender here, even in the YouTube comments, we've seen a massive rebound afterward. But we're going to take a look at the chart later that I really need to show you because it explains everything. Here you can see exactly why Bitcoin is correcting now and why it's going to take off again soon. First, let's take a quick look at the inverse Cramer indicator. We're seeing that Jim Cramer is commenting that people should stay away from MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy really sold off well here. And every time Jim Cramer says, hey, don't buy Bitcoin, Bitcoin has historically gone up. Whenever he said, oh, I'm bullish on Bitcoin now, then Bitcoin has dropped. So we clearly have a contrarian indicator that's kicking in here. And this is really no joke or anything. It's always been like this in the past. A lot of people accuse Jim Cramer of trying to manipulate the markets because he's just a mouthpiece. In the US, I don't know, but every time you have to do exactly the opposite of what he says. It's like in politics in Germany, always do the opposite of what the politicians tell you. And then you usually do pretty well. And then we actually had a story here that went pretty viral. Jeff Bezos tweeted something, and Michael Saylor tried to orange pill him. He's saying that there's a change happening here, the opinion section that he's setting up here. And he's looking for people who are interested in sharing things related to personal liberties and free markets. So about freedom, free markets, liberty, like libertarian ideas. This whole thing has 23 million views, so it really went viral, like really took off. And a whole lot of people reached out. They just wrote about freedom, saying, hey, I can help you. I have good sources on libertarian ideas. But a whole lot of Bitcoiners reached out, including Sefadina Moose. But Michael Saylor also reached out here. Michael Saylor is writing under the tweet, and it seems like he wants to orange pill Jeff Bezos. There have also been rumors about this from time to time. Jeff Bezos met up with some Bitcoiners in the past. Then there's always been the rumor, okay, maybe Amazon or something like that will introduce Bitcoin. I mean, you have to be honest about it. I have to say, there's a lot of speculation involved. So far, Amazon or something like that offering Bitcoin is still a big step. But Michael Saylor is saying here that Bitcoin is the best way to promote personal freedom and free markets. It offers an open protocol for prosperity that can be made available to everyone through digital technology. So I'm super bullish on this. He made it very clear Bitcoin is the ultimate freedom tool. You definitely have to embrace this and keep focusing on it. And now we have the story with Jeff Bezos and Amazon. And feel free to let me know down below. Write in the comments if you think it's realistic that Jeff Bezos is buying Bitcoin, or that he might even use his connections here. And here, it also starts with Amazon buying Bitcoin. As far as I understand, Bezos isn't really that active in the Amazon scene anymore. He has stepped back a bit, but I'm sure he still has good connections here and can still steer the whole thing a little from behind. And it could, so to speak, inspire people to use Bitcoin here. So let me know down in the comments if you think this is realistic or if you think the idea has really drifted off course. And now we really need to take a look at the one chart that explains everything that's going on in the market right now. He explains when things will start going up again. He explains why we're selling off right now. And it also explains why this panic right now isn't really a problem. And it has always been a very, very bullish sign in the past when we hit the fear and greed index and saw it drop into massive fear. So the fear and greed index has different indicators that it combines. And then it comes out like this, barometer out, and on one side at 0 is basically absolute fear. And at 100 or 99, that would be absolute greed, meaning everyone wants to buy Bitcoin. And normally, it's always better to buy Bitcoin, for example, when the fear and greed index is low, like at 10, 20, or 30. And you sell when the Bitcoin index, the fear and greed index, is at 90 or 100. I mean, that's not a hard and fast rule. Or something like that, the fear and greed index isn't 100% perfect. and is just one of many indicators you can use to generally gauge the market sentiment here. And here we had an ultra bullish tweet from Terrence Michael. I didn't know about him before, but he really caused a stir here. Here he also shared the graphics again, the fear and greed index. And here you can see exactly what's going on right now. He's also saying that this is bullish for Bitcoin. In the past, it was like this emotionally challenged tourist, that's how it's translated. I wouldn't say challenged, but there are people who are very emotional about this. These tourists who just have paper hands, they go in and out, and they don't really understand Bitcoin. And these tourists who don't understand Bitcoin drove index into the fear zone, so the fear and greed index dropped below 25. And then there were massive price increases. So we always see the tourists coming to Bitcoin. And the tourists also drive the fear. And the fear and greed index goes down because they just sell at a loss. So they don't even take profits. They go in at $107,000 or $100,000 and then sell at $70,000, $80,000 or $90,000 because they just think, oh crap, Bitcoin is going to drop to $50,000, $40,000 or even lower. And then these tourists sell. And what happens? The fear and greed index keeps falling lower and lower. And right now we're sitting at 10, sometimes even below 10, a lower value than during the collapse of FTX. You guys really need to check this out. We're at a lower level than FTX. Could also be that while you're watching this video, we bounce back up a bit or something like that. It's really ultra volatile with Bitcoin right now. So you really can't gauge it at all. You make a video and it feels like 2 seconds later, something happens again. And either Donald Trump says something again, the Bitcoin price crashes again by 10%, or is there some other story? Then it goes back up. So we really can't gauge that very well right now. But now we need to take a look at what's really happening in this chart. And you can already see here different things marked. You can see here COVID, the China mining ban, and so on. And if we just take a look, then we can see, for example, here, December 2008, we see that the fiat greed index was at 8. After the fiat greed index dropped to 8, what happened? In just 2 months, we shot up 330% from $3,200 to $13,800. So do you guys notice what's happening? Paper hands come in and the Bitcoin price goes up. Then there's a pullback. The paper hands are selling everything. Here, the greed index drops to 8. And then within 2 months, it goes up by over 300%. And now pay attention, it's about to get even better. I need to make this a bit smaller. How are you going to pull this off now? So now it's about to get a whole lot better. So next time here in March 2020, that must have been the COVID crash. The greed index drops to 9. Within a month after the greed index dropped to 9, we shot up 75% from $4,000 to $7,000. But it gets even better. Here in 2021, the greed index was at 10. In just 2 months, we went up 33% from $30,000 to $40,000. November 2022, the greed index drops to 20. In just 2 months, we went up 44% from $16,000 to $23,000. January 2023, the greed index is at 22 points. Within 2 months after that, we went up 67% from $16,800 to $28,000. So here we are in August 2024, about half a year ago, we were at 17% on the greed index, and then within 3 months, we shot up by 80% from $49,000 to $88,000. September 2024, the greed index is at 22%. And then within a month, we went up 20% from $54,000 to $56,000. That means, do you notice a pattern here? Every time the fear and greed index was dragged down by tourists, and after that, we saw a very, very quick rebound. That wasn't a rebound in just a week or anything, but over the course of 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 months, it really shot up pretty quickly. So the smallest increase was 33% here, or no, in 2024 it was 20%, but that's actually more of an exception, 33%. Most of the increases were more aggressive, here 80%, 67%, 75%, 330%. And that doesn't automatically mean that history repeats itself. But if we just look at the patterns and the general sentiment, we've seen that when capitulation is complete, when all the weak hands that bring panic into the market are gone, there are no more sellers left, and then it can potentially go back up. Because it's always like this. There are all these newcomers who jump in, and that's actually good for the market. It's kind of like a detox, or like when you're fasting or something. It's actually good to have a fasting period every now and then. For example, I do it every day after the end of the fast, always on January 23rd. So I eat for 1 or 2 hours, and the rest of the time I fast. Then I kind of get into this recovery mode where autophagy happens, where the cells renew themselves and all that stuff. And that's just ultra crazy. And it's exactly the same with Bitcoin. It's just like with Bitcoin, it's like a fasting mode when we see the weak hands bleeding out, when the weak hands leave the market. And then we have a new, better foundation again. Then you can't really call it crap. When fasting, the junk or toxins or whatever, that's basically flushed out. And then we have a better foundation, and we can start to rise again. And so we can perform in a volatile manner from one top to the next. But in between, we always have the pullbacks and the 20-30% drops, which are totally normal in a bull market. And if you really have no hope left, please watch the clip. Please listen carefully and then really think about it.
I didn't seriously start accumulating Bitcoin until like less than a year ago now, because I was just living kind of on fumes and reinvesting everything back into what I was building in my media space. And once I did start seriously, like I had enough extra capital to start putting away like 500 there, 1,000 there. It was an immediate, I think it's at like up 10%, 20% just on this little cycle here. And it's like, fine if it goes back down, but it's just crazy how scary it is from the outside. But once you're inside, it's like so refreshing and relaxing to know that, and this is the thing that all Bitcoiners know, and this is why Bitcoiners are such fun people, and you're a great example of this, is that I've noticed that when I meet Bitcoiners, they're just calmer. They're just chill, and they're not stressed like regular Americans, because I think most of us don't even realize how much of our daily like stress and tension is coming from financial instability, and this sort of subtle knowledge that the system has constantly got me on this, and most people don't realize they're on this treadmill of like, why is it that I can never afford anything? Why is it that I'm always trying to make rent and I'm always trying to pay my bills? And the moment you start to put more and more of your assets into Bitcoin, you don't even notice it at first, maybe if you're not paying attention to the tokenomics of why this is happening, but it's like, oh, it's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Because as this all gets harder, my number's going up in the background and I'm just chilling.
He talks a bit about the Bitcoiner mindset, that Bitcoin simply makes you more patient, calmer, when you no longer have to constantly look at the charts. And theoretically, you don't even need the YouTube channel here. You can just buy Bitcoin, you can dig yourself into a hole somewhere, and then after 5 years, you can look at your chart and see that Bitcoin is very, very likely to be higher. So that's already pretty exciting. We're watching the markets here because I'm really interested in what's happening. Is Donald Trump doing some crazy stuff again? Or will the ECB go crazy again? Or will Mila do some kind of rug pull again, or whatever? It's just interesting to watch, but you have to understand it's only the surface. So fundamentally, nothing is changing. Basically, you don't need a YouTube channel at all. You don't need anyone for the fundamentals. You just buy it, just hold on to it, bury it somewhere, I don't know, in your backyard or something, or whatever, somewhere safe. Have you saved your keys? Then you can just live your life. Your life is going to get better, it's going to get simpler, because suddenly you'll have more purchasing power. And those little pullbacks shouldn't make you nervous at all. It's really about the big picture here, how Bitcoin changes your time preference, how Bitcoin offers a better value layer, and a lot more. But if you want to take advantage of the crash now, it could really be a massive buying opportunity. So I'll drop a link for you down below. 21 Bitcoin, how you can easily, safely, and simply buy Bitcoin. And with the code, you can get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. Catch you later. Peace out.